People who talk to themselves are often misunderstood. Some see it as strange, but in reality, it's one of the most powerful habits of highly self-aware and mentally strong individuals. Self-talk is not a weakness. It's a tool for clarity, growth, and resilience. Let's explore 6 key moments when people who talk to themselves are actually building a stronger mindset and a better life. When people face difficult decisions, their mind often becomes crowded with conflicting thoughts, doubts, and possibilities. In such moments, talking to themselves becomes a powerful way to bring order to that internal chaos. Instead of letting thoughts spin endlessly, they give those thoughts a voice. Speaking out loud forces the brain to slow down and process each idea more clearly. It transforms abstract thinking into something more structured and understandable, making it easier to evaluate different options. This habit allows individuals to hear their own reasoning as if they were listening to someone else. That slight shift in perspective can reveal gaps in logic, hidden fears, or even overlooked opportunities. When thoughts remain trapped in the mind, they can feel overwhelming and exaggerated, but once spoken, they often become more manageable and realistic. People begin to distinguish between what is truly important and what is driven by anxiety or uncertainty. Talking to oneself also creates a sense of control during uncertain situations. Difficult decisions often come with pressure, whether it's fear of failure or the weight of expectations. Verbalizing thoughts helps reduce that pressure by breaking the decision into smaller, more manageable parts. Instead of seeing one big intimidating choice, individuals start to see a series of steps they can think through calmly and logically. Another powerful aspect of self-talk and decision-making is honesty. When speaking to oneself, there is no need to impress or hide the truth. People can admit what they really want, what they fear, and what they value most. This honesty leads to decisions that are more aligned with personal goals and beliefs rather than external influences. It becomes easier to recognize whether a choice is being made me-toke confidence or me-toke fear. Over time, this practice strengthens confidence and independence. Each decision made through clear self-dialogue reinforces trust in one's own judgment. Instead of constantly seeking validation from others, individuals become more comfortable relying on their inner voice. This doesn't mean ignoring advice, but it ensures that final decisions are grounded in self-awareness and clarity rather than confusion or pressure. There are moments when energy drops, doubt creeps in, and the drive to keep going starts to fade. In those situations, people who talk to themselves don't wait for external encouragement, they create it internally. By speaking words of motivation out loud, they activate a stronger emotional response than silent thinking ever could. Hearing their own voice offering support makes the message feel more real and immediate, almost as if it's coming from a coach who understands them completely. This form of self-talk helps interrupt negative thought patterns. When the mind starts repeating ideas like, I can't do this, or this is too hard, saying the opposite out loud challenges that inner negativity. It creates a mental shift, replacing doubt with direction. Instead of being stuck in hesitation, individuals begin to focus on action. Even simple phrases can reignite momentum and push them to take the next step forward. Motivational self-talk also reinforces personal identity. When someone repeatedly tells themselves that they are capable, disciplined, or resilient, those words begin to shape how they see themselves. Over time, this builds a stronger sense of belief. It's not about pretending everything is easy. It's about reminding oneself that challenges can be handled. That belief becomes a steady source of strength, especially when external validation is absent. Another important effect is emotional regulation. Motivation is not just about excitement, it's about managing low moments effectively. Speaking calmly and encouragingly to oneself can reduce frustration and prevent burnout. It allows individuals to acknowledge difficulty without being overwhelmed by when people are learning something new. Their brain is constantly trying to absorb, organize, and connect unfamiliar information. In this process, talking to themselves becomes a highly effective way to deepen understanding. Instead of passively reading or listening, they actively engage with the material by explaining it out loud. This transforms learning from a passive activity into an interactive experience where the mind is fully involved. Speaking thoughts forces the brain to structure information in a logical sequence. It's one thing to think you understand a concept, but it's another to clearly explain it, even if the only listener is yourself. This act quickly exposes any gaps in knowledge. If something cannot be explained simply, it usually means it hasn't been fully understood yet. By recognizing these gaps, learners can immediately focus on what needs more attention. Self-talk also strengthens memory. When information is spoken, it is processed through multiple channels: thinking, speaking, and hearing. This repetition reinforces neural connections, making it easier to recall the information later. It's similar to teaching someone else. The more you articulate an idea, the more firmly it becomes embedded in your mind. Another advantage is improved concentration. Learning new things can be challenging, and distractions can easily break focus. Talking to oneself helps maintain attention because it keeps the mind actively engaged. Instead of drifting off, individuals stay connected to what they are doing, turning complex or boring material into something more manageable and clear. This habit also builds confidence in one's ability to learn independently. Rather than relying entirely on teachers or external explanations, individuals develop the ability to guide themselves through difficult topics. They become more patient with their own learning process, using their voice as a tool to simplify and break down complexity into understandable parts. When people are managing stress or strong emotions, their thoughts can become overwhelming, scattered, and difficult to control. In these moments, talking to themselves acts as a stabilizing force. Instead of letting emotions build up internally, they release them through words. This simple act creates space between what they feel and how they respond, allowing them to regain a sense of control over their reactions. Speaking out loud helps slow down racing thoughts. Stress often makes the mind jump rapidly from one worry to another, amplifying anxiety. When individuals verbalize their feelings, they are forced to process one thought at a time. This naturally reduces intensity and makes problems feel less chaotic. What once seemed overwhelming starts to appear more structured and manageable. Self-talk also encourages emotional awareness. By putting feelings into words, people begin to identify exactly what they are experiencing, whether it's frustration, fear, anger, or disappointment. This clarity is important because it shifts the mind from reacting impulsively to understanding the root of the emotion. Once emotions are clearly named, they become easier to handle rather than something vague and overpowering. Another benefit is the ability to reframe negative thinking. During stressful situations, the inner voice can become critical or pessimistic. However, when people consciously talk to themselves, they can challenge those negative thoughts and replace them with more balanced perspectives. They might remind themselves that the situation is temporary, that they've handled challenges before, or that there are solutions they haven't yet considered. This shift in dialogue can significantly reduce emotional intensity. Talking to oneself also provides a sense of comfort, especially when external support is not immediately available. It creates the feeling of having a steady presence, even in difficult moments. Over time, this habit builds emotional resilience, helping individuals face challenges with greater calmness and control rather than being overwhelmed by stress. When people are setting goals and visualizing success, talking to themselves becomes a powerful way to turn abstract dreams into something more concrete and believable. Goals often start as distant ideas, but when they are spoken out loud, they begin to feel more real and achievable. This verbal expression creates a stronger connection between intention and action, making it easier to stay committed. Self-talk helps individuals define exactly what they want. Instead of having vague ambitions, they begin to clearly articulate their goals in specific terms. Saying things like what they want to achieve, when they want to achieve it, and why it matters forces the mind to organize those ambitions into a clear direction. This clarity reduces confusion and increases focus, allowing energy to be directed toward meaningful progress. Another important aspect is visualization. When people talk themselves through their goals, they often describe the process and the outcome as if it is already happening. This mental rehearsal strengthens belief and prepares the mind for success. It's not just about imagining the end result, but also about mentally practicing the steps required to get there. This creates familiarity, which reduces fear and hesitation when it's time to take action. Self-talk also reinforces consistency. Motivation can fade, especially when progress is slow or obstacles appear. In those moments, people use their inner voice to remind themselves of their purpose and long-term vision. They reconnect with the reasons behind their goals, which helps them push through temporary setbacks without losing direction. Additionally, speaking positively to oneself builds confidence. The way individuals talk internally shapes how they see their abilities. Encouraging, constructive self-talk replaces doubt with determination. Over time, this creates a mindset where challenges are seen as part of the journey rather than reasons to quit, strengthening both focus and persistence. When people are reflecting on their actions, talking to themselves becomes a powerful way to turn everyday experiences into meaningful lessons. Instead of moving from one situation to another without pause, they take time to replay events in their mind and speak through what happened. This process helps them analyze their behavior with greater clarity, allowing them to understand not just what they did, but why they did it. By verbalizing their thoughts, they can break situations down into smaller parts. They might question their decisions, evaluate their reactions, and consider alternative approaches. This kind of self-dialogue creates a deeper level of awareness, making it easier to identify patterns, both positive and negative. Over time, these patterns reveal habits that either support growth or hold them back. Talking to oneself during reflection also encourages accountability. It's easy to ignore mistakes or shift blame when thoughts remain internal and unstructured. But when spoken out loud, it becomes harder to avoid the truth. Individuals can honestly acknowledge where they went wrong without judgment, creating an opportunity for genuine improvement rather than denial. This habit also strengthens problem-solving skills. As people talk through past experiences, they begin to explore different ways they could have handled situations. They mentally test new responses and strategies, preparing themselves to act more effectively in the future. Reflection, combined with self-talk, turns past challenges into preparation for better decisions ahead. Another important aspect is recognizing progress. Reflection isn't only about mistakes, it also highlights growth and achievements. By talking through what went well, individuals reinforce positive behaviors and build confidence in their abilities. This balanced perspective prevents discouragement and keeps motivation steady, as they can clearly see how far they've come while continuing to improve. Talking to yourself is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of awareness, discipline, and growth. The next time you catch yourself doing it, don't feel embarrassed. You might just be developing one of the most powerful habits for personal success.